Welcome to the Femalepreneur Coach podcast. I am your host, Rebecca Barr. I am a transformational mindset and business coach and six-figure award-winning female entrepreneur. Ladies, I'm here to tell you that business and making money doesn't have to be hard when you're in alignment and flow. Inside this podcast, I will be showing you how to transform your mindset to program it for success, how to maximize your money vibrations, and how to redesign your business for ultimate financial and time freedom. You know you are meant to live an epic life. Now it's time to claim it. Hi ladies, thank you so much for joining me for another episode today of the Femalepreneur Coach podcast. Today I am super excited. I'm joined by Bethan Davies, who is a brand new best friend, whether she knows it or not. We met recently through a mastermind, which I'm always such a huge advocate of, you know, getting the female energy and minds together is where the power is in the collective. And she is absolutely fantastic. So she is a multi-six-figure businesswoman. She is an empowerment coach for women, particularly mums in business. She's a best-selling author, pretty much all the things. So I'm super excited to have you on here today. Thank you so much for your time. And yeah, I would love to just, I think it's so important for particularly mums in business to see themselves in others and to see what's possible for them too. So would you like to start, Bethan, just by giving a better intro to yourself and your journey, rather than what I've just summarised?
Well, I thought that was really, really good. I don't know if I could do better now.
I'm just fangirling.
So I'm Beth. You can call me Bethan. And yeah, I wear many different hats. So I have multiple businesses, all kinds of aspects, online, offline, bricks and mortar, all kinds of things going on. But I do that with, like, my main core value is having freedom, so that I can really enjoy my money and spend it with my loved ones doing the things that we love doing. So we travel a lot, we spend a lot of time over West Wales. We've got a little holiday home over there, which we spend a lot of time over there. And that's what I specialize in, really, and that's what I'm the expert in, is helping women in business to really sort of step into that CEO role rather than kind of working all the things in their business, and just showing them that they can actually have a really successful, life and business, and have that time as well. Like, they don't need to be doing all the things, and so it's all about better time management and leveraging smart multiple income streams.
So you're like an expert in reoccurring revenue streams, aren't you? So self-studies, masterclasses. I love that as well, because it's so important. I know that for a lot of my clients that I work with and a lot of women that I speak to, it's that overwhelming sense of, oh my God, I've already got so much to do. How could I possibly fit in a business? And then it just becomes too much, doesn't it? And they don't even try. And that's so disappointing. So I'm like, who knows what you'd be capable of if you just gave yourself permission? And it is that fear, isn't it, that you might perhaps have to sacrifice time with your family and your children while they're small. But obviously you were testament to the fact that you actually don't. And if anything, you actually spend more time with your family, don't you? Because I know that you homeschool. And your husband's at home with you now, isn't he?
Yeah. So it wasn't always the case, even though now we do have a lot of freedom. And I hear this thing all the time, more and more, as I'm really sort of hitting my goals and my targets and finding that freedom in all aspects. I get it more and more people saying oh, but it's okay for you go on holidays, it's okay for you get plenty of time to have self-care, oh, it's okay for you got your husband at home to help out. And it's it's a really important thing. Like you stated there, some people kind of don't give themselves that chance to even try. And it's something that I always start off with, when I start working with anyone, or even when I'm just putting information out there to the world. It's the key thing and the first thing to realize is that you have to take on a can-do attitude rather than a can't. And it's really, really important that you do that, and how you show up and your attitude that you have, it makes a world of difference. So like, instead of like comparing or looking at other people and thinking it's okay for them, like literally, if I tell my story when, you know, I do master classes and stuff like that, I let people know my background and what kind of life I came from. And it certainly wasn't born into like a family with, you know, riches and lots of money. I wasn't born into a family that were really like educational, and I'm the only one in my family who's ever been to like university. So, you know, trust me when I say like anyone can actually change their life and become whoever they want to become, but they got to believe it first.
Yeah, I always say like the woman that says she can and the woman that says she can't, like they're both right. And obviously,
Yeah.
you know, from an NLP perspective, even just as a mindset coach, what you tell your subconscious is so powerful. And if you're constantly feeding it absolute rubbish and you know,
Yeah.
disempowering statements, then obviously you're never even going to give it a go. But I would love to know more about your journey, actually, because I think we're very aligned in the sense that I'm exactly the same. First person in my family, I was from super tough council estate, and you
Yeah.
know, it's hard, isn't it, to be that one that breaks out of the mold and does something different. So I'd love to know your
Yeah.
journey.
Well, like I was brought up in my nan's little council house,
No.
and it was crowded. It was like all my cousins, my aunties, uncles, but it was fun. Like I had a really, really good, wild, fun childhood. My dad worked away a lot, and he was like saving really hard and working hard to get us a home, to get me, my mum, and my brothers a home of our own. And like when that happened, I started to feel like different. So like he'd be home on the weekends, he'd take us to the park. Like we would do lovely things that, you know, the other kids didn't really get that. Their parents didn't take them to the park or take them, you know, when he saved up a bit of money, then he'd take us on like a little Butlins holiday or something like that in the UK, little caravan holidays. And that was something like a lot of my family and friends just didn't have. So I started to feel really different,
Yeah.
which led to like a bit of a rough teenage, you know, time. I got into lots of trouble. There was like, we won't go into all the details, but it was rough and it got quite dark as well.
Was
And
that from an element of like feelings of guilt because you
it
sort
was
of
more feelings of like, and I've done a lot of work on this and looked at my past and like, you know, worked through that timeline, because it all has an effect on our behavior and our thoughts and patterns and everything, doesn't it? And I can hear someone coming into the office now. I think it's my daughter. So sorry if we get disruption. That's what you get for homeschooling.
I know. Oh my God, Bethan as well.
My
I
mother's
always
like fighting with her in the background now to get her out of the office, because my mother also
Oh,
works for me.
I know what it's like when I'm on a live. I'm like, get out of whilst trying not to move my lips so no one can see. I'm like, my eye twitching.
Like, the
Oh,
juggle is real.
no, oh my God. And yeah, this
Oh,
is one of the
no.
dreams actually that I had, was to homeschool my children and be able to travel more. And then obviously lockdown came and I actually had to do the
Yeah.
homeschooling, and I was like, maybe
It's
not.
not for everyone. It's not for everyone. Yeah.
Oh,
But yeah, like I got to my teenage years, it was more like I went down that rocky road. I was like sort of desperate to prove something, that I still fitted in, that I
yeah,
wasn't different, because I felt like I didn't fit in.
yeah,
And I desperately wanted to prove like, yeah, I do fit in. I'm just like you. I'm badder. I'm like,
yeah.
I was trying to be like that wild kid, and it got me into a lot of trouble. And
Well,
um,
interestingly, I cover this in the money mindset, millionaire mindset bootcamp, sorry, that I'm doing at the moment. And there's a lot of community in having no money. And
yeah,
I definitely felt the same as well. And obviously at our very core, we are still very much tribal beings. Like our basic
yeah,
human needs are like food, shelter, and connection, and to be part of a community and a tribe. So
yeah,
when you start to like, you know, have to potter off and do your own thing, you can face a backlash in that, because misery loves company. And you know,
yeah.
people love to moan about the weather and the petrol and money, and when you suddenly aren't that person anymore, they don't know what to do with you, do they? So
No,
it's so hard, I think, for some people to, like you say, have the right mindset to actually even want to be different and to go and do something else.
yeah.
Yeah,
it's a scary thing, like that kind of change is really, really scary. And like you say about backlash, like, you know, I've faced so much backlash with the changes that I've made in my life. Like, you know, I don't even have contact with half of my family members anymore, and I get, oh, she's come in again. Right, say a quick hello, be going to be fair because Mummy's on a podcast.
Hi.
Hi.
Oh, bless her.
Where's Daddy? Are you going to go off so Mommy can finish this interview? Oh, she's pitching.
Oh, and she's got little French plats. Like, Bethan, you're killing me.
She's stepping these. This is how she'd woke up.
Oh, bless you. God, I wish I woke up like that. Oh, I was going to ask you actually, because sometimes they always say like people will like ridicule you and then they'll ask if you're hiring. I did wonder if your family then perhaps saw you as an inspiration, but sometimes
some of them do, but some of them, like, I've not really had, like, I've had family arguments as well, like not arguments, but like I've had that whole, oh my God, you've changed, you know, the person you used to be. And it's like, I used to really take that to heart as well from people when they'd say stuff like that. But now I own that, and I'm like, yeah, I have changed. And you know what? I'm so flipping glad that I have, because now it's like, I wouldn't have this lifestyle, this freedom, the money that I have as well. Like if I didn't really own who I was as well, not feel, because I used to feel all guilt. I used to be embarrassed about my past, like literally all that stuff. And now, like, one of my main things that I showcase in my presentations, and to take people on that journey, to show them that it doesn't matter where you come from or who you were or anything like that, or who you are, you can become anyone. I show them like a little picture collage of my past. And it's like those pictures I look at now and think, that's part of my journey, that's me. And I'm not ashamed of it, I'm not embarrassed of it anymore. Whereas like a few years ago, and those were like hidden deep, and I wouldn't want anyone to see them because I was so mortified by my past. But it's about like loving yourself, all of yourself, isn't it? Like,
it's about the evolution, isn't it? Like we're here as a species to grow and to like continually keep moving up, like into different levels, different chapters. And yeah, I absolutely agree. I was probably the same actually, because as soon as it's like then you don't fit in either world, do you? Because you can't stay with the people from your past because you've outgrown them, but then you're not quite at the next level of people and circles, like, you know, you're not quite at where they are in terms of money, and you don't want to sort of, you know, mention everything that went on previously. So how did you, because you've kind of gone on two journeys, well, you've probably gone on multiple, but to obviously like to even have that desire to want more was a bit of a journey in itself. But then also going from a safe bet and a 9-to-5 job to then going into being a business owner, that's another journey as well, isn't it?
Yeah, so like the first journey, let Mommy talk a second, and then you can talk in a bit, okay? Let Mommy talk first. Remember, like, we take it in turns? Good girl. So
oh my God, does that work? If I said to my children, they'd be like, really? they would not care.
Sometimes. Like when I was like transitioning from sort of, I went to university, so like before I became a business owner, I went to university and I became a qualified radiographer. Hang on, baby.
Wow, that's really prestigious.
This is Becca.
Hello, darling.
Yeah, so I was like, I was working in the X-ray department. I started off with like different random admin jobs. I'd done different things in college. I knew like I wanted something better. So I was like looking for a job in the NHS because I knew they had like a good pension scheme. So that was like my main thing back then.
It's like that mindset, money mindset of like a safe bet, isn't it?
Yeah. And maybe I'm gonna have to, if you want to stay in here, you're gonna have to take it in turns, and then Mommy finish speaking, okay?
Mommy, I don't want to do it.
I know, but Mummy's on an interview a minute, so sorry.
No, don't apologize, because I think again this is what holds women back, is that we feel like if we've got young children, like who cares? Like obviously I won't swear because the baby's there, but I just think like we have to be less judgmental of each other, and the more in the sense of like make it accessible for everybody. Like there's no less value in this interview because your baby's there. It's like you know, we're all women, we've all got children, we know what it's like, and if we continue to hold each other back with judgment, then that's how, you know, men now rule the world, isn't it, essentially?
Yeah.
And we've
And
got
like
to be,
I know it's a bit off topic, but like that's a huge thing, because when I first started off in my coaching career, my target audience, my niche and everything was totally different. And I quickly realized that, do you know what, I want to work with women who completely understand and can tolerate as well the fact that my daughter may come running in during calls and stuff like that. And that's what I did as well. And like I built up like a huge audience base as well with this other niche with my coaching. And then I just decided, you know, I need to, so I kind of started afresh. And you know what it's like when you change direction within your business, it is, but it's like important to know as well, like if things need to change, no matter what that looks like, no matter what kind of work or, you know, money, because in the beginning, like with that niche audience as well, I put quite a bit of money into like paid targeting and stuff like that with like paid ads. And I did that with like that first time around. And then I was kind of giving all that up to start again from scratch type of thing. But it pays off, because now like everyone who's attracted to me and works with me, they absolutely love it. That, you know, it's kind of puts the pressure off them as well, because if their kids want to interrupt our calls, then that happens. And quite often, you know, we can sit there and we like working around with our kids on our shoulders type of thing.
I always say, like, when people start to say like, oh, she can do it, I'm like, yeah, so that means that you can do it too. Like every time one of us rises, it gives permission to other women to do the same thing. So yeah, I completely agree. And also I have 5 children, so there's no chance that I could be ignore the fact that I have 5 children, because they always track me down. So obviously you started off with this super safe bet career, and then what inspired you to go into the journey of being like an entrepreneur?
So it was like when I had my daughter, basically, like I was working, I'd worked like 3 years on a trot trying to get into university to become a qualified radiographer. And when I'd achieved that, you know, I had a decent wage, I had a nice house, lovely husband, and we were like, when we had Aria, when I was pregnant with her, I knew things had to change. Like my main responsibility and my main priority was my career, because like when you go into a specialism like that, it's drummed into you that that's your priority. Like, you know, sick days, you power on and turn up no matter what, and you know, you cover. And the amount of overtime and stuff I was working, because we were so short staffed, you know what the NHS is like, it's really stretched at the moment. And I was really working all the hours. I knew I'd have to work like Christmases and things like that. So that was a big turning point for me when I realized I need to find a way of being able to work from home for a start. Not sacrifice that money either.
Yeah, I think I found that as well, because my first business, so I kind of went on a similar journey in the sense that I had a really corporate background, left that when I became a single parent with 3, and it just wasn't practical. Like the level of commitment that they needed from me, I physically couldn't do. You know, like 5 a.m. starts, and there isn't a nursery that will take your child at 5 o'clock in the morning.
No.
And my mum was my primary childcare at the time, and she'd had a stroke. So it's almost like the universe intervened then. And then when I became a business owner, I had like physical businesses that required me to be there and my time and to cash up and and I just, again, I felt like, oh my god, like I just can't win, because my kids are still small. I'm having to drag them out the house to go and cash up. But in my mind, that was the trade-off. Like that's what you have to do in order to have a successful business. And it's almost like still being like super apologetic about having kids and not entirely empowered as a woman. And then it's only when you actually just think, fuck it, I can't do this anymore. Like it's exhausting, it's draining. I am a mother. I do want to be there for my children. When you finally like have that moment of release, like it doesn't have to be like this. That's when you're truly liberated, I think, as a woman.
I always remember when I was working in the X-ray department, and I'd said to my boss, I want to reduce my hours. I want to, you know, I want to put my hours down. I didn't want to be full-time anymore. I wanted to be part-time. And he was like, oh, well, what's the reason if you wanted to do that? And I was like, well, I've got a baby on the way. I want to be home, like childcare, that kind of stuff. And I remember him saying to me, like, well, what did he say? He said something along the lines of, if I did go into like another area, I can't remember what it was now, I think it was like ultrasound or something like that, but he wanted me to like specialize further. Like I was already specializing in CT scans, and he wanted me to like specialize further and pick up like overtime. Oh, that's what he offered as well, for me to work more night shift, because there's like, it was more money involved in like the, unsocial hour type of thing. And he was like, and then you can pay for a nanny to like, look after your child. And I was like, no, that's not the point. I said, it's not a financial aspect. I said, I'm quite happy to lose the finances. I said, if it means, like, I'm happy to take that sacrifice and that hit, if it means like spending more time with my baby, like. And he just didn't get it. And it was like, I remember my first day back in work as well, and I was on the CT. I had a patient in the scanner, and I was like behind the screen about to start the scan. My phone went off in my pocket, and I'd never normally have my phone in work. And I was like, oh, I need to answer this just in case, like, what if it's something to do with my daughter? It was like first day ever, like leaving her. And when I looked at my phone, I just burst into tears. And then when everyone was like, oh, is everything okay? Thinking something really bad had happened. And then I was too embarrassed to just kind of tell them. It was just a video. My friend who was babysitting sent a video of her being pushed in a swing. She was like 9 months old. And she was like, she had tears in her eyes where she was laughing so much. And I was just like, she'd never been in a swing before. I've missed that. And like, it was just like the people who I was surrounded by in that environment just didn't get that. They didn't understand, like, oh, it's right. Take it to the park on, when on your next day off. It was like,
it's that mentality, isn't it? In corporate, it's very much masculine energy, where it is about just getting stuff done, your career and everything else. I totally understand. And for me, in a HR department, I think I was one of like 2 women that actually had children, and it's just these really dated, like stereotypical roles of what a successful person needs to be. But it is things like that, isn't it? It's that judgment. It's that you having to choose, because I don't necessarily think you have to leave corporate in order to be a good mum, but I think businesses are starting to wise up a little bit, aren't they? Like, there would never have been any flexibility in terms of like working from home and stuff. Well, fortunately, the pandemic has just been an absolute game changer, and I think all of those old excuses about you can't do it at home are no longer valid. So
no, that's so true.
So was that a turning point for you?
That was a huge turning point for me. And like, that was a point where I realized, like, no, I need to it like confirmed all of my fears, all the things I was like feeling, like that feeling of just not wanting to miss out, like it confirmed it all. And then just after that, I worked my very first Christmas, like with Aria. She was a baby. She didn't know no different. But I knew different. I worked that Christmas, and I was just so upset being in work, dealing with like, some of the people that were there were genuine, obviously needed care, needed help, like, but there was some there as well, like Christmas period, who were just completely and utterly intoxicated, and then like the abuse, the verbal abuse and all. And I was like thinking, oh, I could be a home right now with my baby girl. What am I doing? And it was just, I came home from that shift, I cried my eyes out, and I said to Lee, my husband, I was like, I'm never ever being away from my family on Christmas again. And I said, and for that matter, birthdays or anything, I said, I can't do it. I'm not doing this anymore. And then like a couple of months later, I quit my job. And everything just sort of boomed after that when I quit the job. Like, I started off when I was still working in the job, and before I even gone back to the job, like when I was on maternity, I was dabbling. Like, I started off with weddings and events. I had like product-based businesses. I've literally tried a bit of everything, which has like led me to now, like I've got multiple businesses. The businesses that I have got like are completely outsourced, and they've got management running them, so I have nothing to do with them. And the only one business that I put my time into is my coaching business, because that's like my one main passion business, that it doesn't feel like work. But again, like the hours on that are really limited, and I've got a lot of systems in place which are automated, within the coaching business as well, you know, drip feeding money all the time. So even if I decide to take my foot off the pedal, even though the finances might drop a little bit, they're still there. We still got those safety nets from all of the other multiple income streams, plus the income streams within the coaching business as well that I've set up to be, you know,
Yeah, I love that as well, that you've because you're like me in terms of like multi-passionate, because I think once you get that entrepreneurial bug and you identify an opportunity to make money and to, you know, make your family life better, it's going for it, giving yourself permission to try new things, isn't it? And I just wondered about that. You know, did you, because a lot of my clients, like, they feel guilty or they feel bad, and they put so much of their ego into the fact that if the business doesn't work out, you know, it's a failure, and it's, you know, obviously I was no good, not meant to be a business owner. How did you kind of give yourself permission to just sort of have a go and try things? Like, what did you start with, the wedding business?
Yeah, so it was like weddings and events. I dabbled, before I got into that, I dabbled with I bought a load of stock as well, which all went to waste, but it was like all artificial flowers and stuff as well, and things like that. So it's like loads of different things I tried. The wedding business was successful, but it was something that I didn't really, you know, at that time I was just finding business just for income. I wasn't doing it for like from a passion. It's only now that I've found that I can actually have a business that I'm passionate about. It took me some time to figure that out. It was certainly,
and do you feel like that's what gives you like the ultimate balance now, is that, yeah, you know, you're at home with the kids and you are earning good money, and also you're doing a business that you love.
I'm doing a business that I absolutely love. And it, like I said, that wasn't clear to me back then. So even though, like, when I'm working with people, the first thing I tell them to do is like focus on passions. Yeah. Like, you know, you need to have like that open-mindedness to be like you said, whenever opportunities present themselves, if you can see a smart path there to make money, even if in the short term there's a little bit of short-term sacrifice while you get to that point where it can make you money. Like, for example, I never set out and said, like, one of the businesses I've got is a pub. And I never ever set out and said, oh, I want to be a pub owner. Like, that was never on the cards. It was just when the opportunity presented itself, like, me and Lee spoke about it, and I said to him, you know, we can get this working. We looked at the books on the pub and everything to see like what it looked like financially, and I knew that, you know, I could take that on, flip it, increase the income of it, get like management to completely run it themselves, and, you know, we would take like a little profit margin from that, which would be smaller than what it would be clearly if we were working it ourselves. But the fact is, that's a passive income stream because I have nothing to do with that. Like, we've got an accountant that deals with everything, that side of things. We've got management that deal with things, with the staff and all of that. Payroll, everything's like outsourced. So we literally just take that bit of profit, but that's just one part of all the other things that we've got going on as well. So it's like,
it's very interesting, actually, because that is a real mindset shift from what you would have seen as a child, where your dad is essentially like sacrificing so much to be able to provide for you all, and, you know, time with you, and it's like time away from the family. And then you have, you know, sort of embraced a passive income stream. That's something that I really find a lot of clients struggle with, because they feel like it has to be hard in order to deserve it.
Yeah,
but it's great. Like, that's just testament to what an incredible journey you've been on, that you're not letting those limiting beliefs and things that you would have seen when you were young hold you back.
And like, those limiting beliefs are always there. Like, we've had these conversations ourselves, like when I've spoke to you about it, and I've said, like, quite recently I realized that I wasn't, even though I'm very successful in like my business, my income streams, all of that, with the coaching side of things, even though I have a really successful coaching business, I was holding myself back quite a bit. And not really like pushing myself past like a certain income level within the coaching business. And it was like, the reason that was because I wasn't like working. I think it's like it all connects, like that feeling of not feeling like it's a real business, even though clearly I know consciously, yeah, of course it's a real business. Makes me far more money than what I used to earn as a qualified radiographer. But it's like, because I wasn't working hard or I'd got to a position where I was no longer working hard, you kind of, all those negativities do fester. And it's like, if you're not aware of them, you're not keeping on top of them, they can fester. And all of a sudden, like my businesses and my finances scaled really quickly in the beginning, like really fast. But I was also working really hard because I was doing all the things. I was like getting the pub up to scratch. I was, looking at my properties, because I've got like properties as well. Like we invest in different properties. We've got property lets, residential lets and stuff. So I was like doing all of these things, and like, I set targets, and I was like, right, I'm going to get it to this position. This is my target, to then get that totally outsourced so that I've got the time. And then when I got to that position where I'd done all that hard work, and then I was really starting to see that pay off and get the freedom, my income level it slowed down. It was still creeping up, but it slowed down. It didn't like keep going as drastically as it was. And I think it was because, I know it was because I kind of didn't feel like I was working.
It's so interesting actually, because I've spoken to somebody who is essentially a millionaire, and that's obviously like part of my growth. It's to just continue to keep up leveling my circle and my contacts. 100%. And it makes so much sense. Obviously my background is psychology as well, and it's about like the hierarchy of needs. So when in the very beginning stages of any business, where you are literally hustling and grinding to bring that money in, you get such a greater sense of satisfaction and endorphins from those initial, like, first £10, £20, because it's like you're in survival mode. So again, like I said, you're very, like, at your core, it's about food, shelter, community. It's also like being able to provide for yourself and your family for those things. Once you've gone past that and you're like, well, I can feed my family and we have got a pretty good life, it's no longer such a strong tribal driving force, because your basic needs are met. So then it's like, okay, so what is it that's still going to keep me on that chart still, and it's essentially probably your driving force now is fulfilling your potential. And knowing that you can be all you can be. That will probably be the underlying driving force of wanting to earn more money and everything else. But that will be it. You'll no longer be motivated by the money as such, because you're not in that survival mode anymore. So it's
a big shift. It is a big shift. And it's like, I think as well, in a way, I'm starting to see how it's a really, really good shift, because now I'm in a position where I'm not like sort of focused. Obviously I'm focused financially, but I'm more focusing now on how I can really show up for my clients when it comes to the coaching business. I feel like I've got this new energy with my coaching that I didn't really, it's a different kind of energy.
And it's now about legacy, isn't it?
And I really feel now like this, I've got this new fire where I'm like, how far can I take this? How many, like I'm already recognized as a global life and business coach. I work with clients all over the world, but like, I think, what further level can I take that? How many more people could I like have an impact on? And it's just like that feedback as well. Like I'm finally sort of hearing it. Like before, I didn't hear it. I'd have like so much feedback and testimonials and women saying like, you have changed my life. Like just to be able to work from home and have that time as well. Like my life has completely changed. And I wasn't really hearing that before, but I think it was because I was so focused on my goals.
Well, it's imposter syndrome, isn't it? When it comes easy to you, again, like you say, you weren't having to work hard for it anymore. So it kind of feels like, it just doesn't resonate as much, because it is like imposter syndrome. 100%. It's like, oh, I haven't done anything that much. It's fine. It's it's hard to take
like
that.
It's clicking, and now I'm finally feeling like I'm allowing that to sink, and I'm allowing.
This is it. I found this as a coach as well, that for me I felt like so much pressure on me as a coach to literally come in and change absolutely everything, especially where I'm a business coach, that I would come in and completely transform somebody's business and get them these 6-figure launches. And if I didn't get results like that, I didn't feel like I was good enough. But what I was finding actually was that the value is in just holding space for somebody. Actually, when you work with these women that are, Whitney Houston, bloody hell, I'm every woman to absolutely everybody else, just having someone ask from a place of like genuine, like, you know, like love, care, compassion. How are you? Like that could be the first time they've been asked that in absolutely months. So just even holding space for a client can have so much value, and the repercussions of how they then level up their life off the back of that. Like you'll never really know your true legacy. Like and you know, for you particularly, I think where you are giving women that time and freedom, you know, what does that mean for their children, their grandchildren? You know, you're literally changing people's lives just by doing what you do. Pretty amazing.
It does, it feels amazing. And especially when you actually start to see that, because like you said, you do feel like an imposter really, but when you start to see that you are making a difference, it just gives you even more fire then to keep doing more. But
and is most of that through the like passive, like implementing passive income streams, so like self-studies? What are some of those examples that you're helping women to create?
So it's a bit of a mix really. Like I always help them to focus on the bigger picture and longer term of having multiple income streams. And that would include like income streams that are smart. So the kind of income that you can make money, but like not do any work. And if that means the profit margin is a bit slight, like less, but with like built up with the other income streams, it's like that bigger picture. You kind of build it brick by brick type of thing, rather than thinking, oh, you know, it's about not seeing that like shiny object and thinking, oh yeah, but if I just do this part of this business or this income stream, if I take on this bit myself, look how much more money I could be making rather than outsourcing it. But you've got to look past that and look at the bigger picture and see that that's a stepping stone. Yeah, the profit margin might be small on that one income stream because you've outsourced so much of it, but you've got that smaller profit margin is yours for no work once you've set it all up. And so then you can move on to implementing the next. Yeah, they complement each other, and it's like you can move on to the next one. And then once that's in place, that's another little bit to the profit margin that you've put there that you're doing normal work with. And then you move on to the next one and the next. And that's what it's about, having that bigger picture. And it's about focusing on that bigger picture as well. Because like one of the things that I see a pattern with business women is that they'll have the vision, they'll see the bigger picture, but they're not on the right path to like get there. They stray and they end up doing all the things they shouldn't be doing.
That's
rather
me.
than focusing on the actual things. And when we look at that, we break that back down. And even when we're working on this together and we like seeing the bigger picture, we're taking those steps, taking it back, like what does that look like in a year? What does that look like in 6 months? What does that look like? And even when we're breaking it down to those little steps, when we actually come to the now, and I'm like, well, okay, what are you doing in this next few weeks that are online with that path? Sometimes they will still say things outside the path. And it just shows how sometimes when it comes to our own path and our own selves, we can be so clouded and we can end up, you know, wanting to do things that are not quite in line with our path, or the things that are going to get us there, you know, now. And it's like procrastinating. It's like putting other obstacles in your own way sometimes. And
almost like self-sabotage, isn't it?
Yeah. And I see so many women do it, and it's like sometimes it's just like a little click. And you know, this is why I always
comes from a place of fear, doesn't it? In the sense that if I don't take this opportunity, another one is not going to come along.
Absolutely, it's always mindset. And you know, this is why I always work so closely with mindset experts, because I'm not a mindset expert, even though I'm very good at helping my women see their blocks and uncover them. I'm not an expert. I've never done any like mindset qualifications. I've worked with a lot of people on my own mindset, but it's like, that's why I always bring the experts in to help them really uncover those things, because it's like, it's a key, like being able to really unlock your mind and to be able to, it flows into everything else you do.
Yeah, definitely. So having that focus. And I love that you're encouraging them to look at the bigger picture and the longer term vision. So like in a year's time, where could you be, like in a completely different place? Because I find a lot of women, it's almost like if it's not a quick win, and it's not just women, it's social media, it's everything, isn't it? Everybody's looking for a quick win. And that's what I found as a business owner. It's like nobody was prepared to do the hard work to put in the foundations that's actually you can then build a successful business on. So yeah, I completely agree. So what kind of things would they be working on? Is it like product-based businesses? Is it like courses? Like, what kind of things do you encourage them to do that has
Anything
that
really.
potential for passive income?
Yeah, so there's like loads of different things they can be doing, and that can look, some of the examples that I've said today has been like, you could have any kind of business that's outsourced fully. If you've got a little bit of a profit margin there, then that's a form, so getting management
like an Amazon
in.
business?
Anything really.
Yeah.
It could be like, you could have a shop, it could be like an in-person business, it could be an online business, it could be anything. But what I always say is like, know what your passion is, or having an idea of your passion. That's going to be your one main focus as your passion business. And then be open-minded to receiving and any opportunities for anything to build around that. And quite a lot of the time, like a lot of the people who work with me end up wanting to have a bit of a property portfolio. So it's a bit of a popular one, and maybe it's because it's something I've got. So I don't know whether that's like something they pick up on, and then they like, quite often they'll say like, oh, I've thought of doing this in the past, but just never thought it'd be possible. And it's just something as simple as that. Like a lot of the time people will say like, oh, I'd love to do this, I'd love to do that, but that's as far as it goes. They don't actually put any like tangible steps in place to achieve that. And like one of the things I say as well in regards to property, for example, when people say I'd love to build a property portfolio, but you need money to start, it's like, yeah, but you need money to start with anything really when it comes to business, to really invest and leverage and grow. So like, and people do these things without money. I didn't start off with money. I didn't have any money. I come from a very, very, poor background, to be honest. But like I built that up from scratch, and it's by like seeing how you can break that back. Okay, I don't have the money right now, but what can I do to make sure I've got the money by a certain date?
This is it, isn't it? It's even just giving yourself permission to go out and look. Like I remember like when I got like one of the things that I encourage with my Millionaire Mindset Bootcamp is, what does your dream life look like? Actually go out, and if it's a house, what is the rental payments on it, or a mortgage payment on, what's the deposit, like what's the, like literally give yourself a number.
You have to be specific.
Yeah, and when I actually did that, my dream life is like a fraction of the price of what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was in the millions. It wasn't. It was in the hundreds of thousands, which was super exciting. But even just a really silly example is a cleaner. So for me, the first thing I realized when I started leaning into my coaching is that it takes a lot of my energy, and I'm all about feminine energy principles. And, I'm already giving away a lot of my energy to my children, to the home, and then clients. So I need an exchange. So I need to be now receiving energy from something else. So obviously a cleaner. And when I spoke to people about this, they were like, oh my God, like I would love to be able to afford a cleaner, but I'll never be able to. And I was like, have you actually seen what a cleaner costs? Because when I looked into it, it was £10 an hour. And I was like, why did we think as women that a cleaner was so expensive, when actually it's really accessible? Because £10 an hour is, even if you just had 1 hour a week, it's symbolic that you're starting to step into that power. But you could easily save £10 from somewhere else in a week. I spend that on coffees or a lunch or anything, and then you could have this. But it's just even allowing yourself, like you say, to start a property business or a small business. It's not £1 million. It's not, you could easily.
You just need to figure out like what that stepping stone is going to be. Like, what's that deposit you need to get together for that first house, and like look past as well, because sometimes you're only looking like what's in front of you, and you don't look like the bigger picture. And like the amount of people who said to me as well, yeah, but houses are so expensive, and I'm like, where are they expensive? Like, where are you looking? Because to have a house, if you're going to have a buy-to-let mortgage, a property to just rent it out from the off, why does that need to be in your immediate area? Like, world is your oyster. Look for somewhere where it is affordable, and start off with a stepping stone somewhere. Like you take, parts of Wales, like the Rhondda Valleys where I'm from, houses are dirt cheap. Like my first two houses were in the Rhondda Valleys, and you can get them really, really cheap, and you can rent them out, and then that's just paying for itself. That is a passive income stream in itself. Like, and even if you do want to use like estate agents in the area, which, because they do take a bit of a cut, there's so much like online assistance now. There's actual property managers online, like willing to do this stuff for you at like cheaper rates and things like that. But like, it's about just having these ideas and thinking, right, what can I do? Okay,
yeah,
like,
and giving yourself permission to actually go out and start doing the research, because then as soon as you start taking away these potential blocks or objections, the sooner you can get into the actual doing. We are so aligned, Bethan, because I've said this to both of my siblings. Actually, they're very keen to get onto the property ladder. Where we live, it is very expensive. We're quite close to London, and you're talking 20, 30, 40, 50,000 pounds plus. But what I've said to them is, like you said, think of the bigger picture. There's more than one way to skin a cat, excuse the expression. But I was like, you could easily, we have family in Wales. I was like, you could easily go just get on the property ladder by buying something small as a rental, and then once you're on it, it's easier to move up it. But you've got to at least let the universe know that is your intention. It's about putting yourself in the game first of all, isn't it? And then you can grow from there.
Absolutely. Like once you're on the property ladder, a couple of years of renting and the equity builds in there, and then it's about having a target and then pulling the equity from one and putting it into another, and it's just like a so on kind of thing. And
it's easier to remortgage once you're already on the ladder, isn't it?
Yeah.
But these are the kind of conversations that women should be having with their friends, like investment opportunities. And these are the kind of circles that you need to be, surrounding yourself with. And yet it's so like, people just don't, do they?
No.
Because I can imagine having this conversation with somebody else and they'd just be like, yeah, but like say everything's just so expensive and it's really hard. And that would be the end of that conversation.
Yeah.
But if you've got that little spark in you that is like, oh, there must be more to life. This is why community and joining masterminds, academies, any sort of, even a free Facebook community of like-minded women, that is where the power comes from.
Big difference. Yeah,
you
do. And it's like that saying, like you become who you spend the most time with, and that's so true. If you're surrounded by people who are can't do kind of personalities, like, oh, but I can't do that, or it's all right for you because this, or well, that's not going to happen for someone like me, like that kind of attitude. If you're surrounded by that is gonna it takes
away your energy, doesn't it? It's draining.
Definitely, and you will become that person too. Whereas if you surround yourself with positive, like-minded, ambitious, driven women who all want that kind of same thing, who see problem solving is the answer, not rather than like, oh, a hurdle has been thrown my way with this has knocked my plans out of the water, rather than just taking that and just thinking, oh well, it wasn't meant to be. Like, if you're surrounding yourself with the kind of person who says, okay, that's not worked, what else can I do?
I always say this, like business, you have to approach it with a sense of curiosity. It's almost like, putting together a house. It's like, well, if that bit didn't quite work, okay, what can I tweak over here that is going to give me, the results that I want over here? And it is surrounding yourself with people like that, because you don't necessarily need to have all the answers yourself. As much as I do believe that we do typically have a lot of the answers ourselves when we lean into our intuition, equally just having a conversation and a coffee with somebody else to sort of bounce ideas off, there's so much power in that. And it's amazing,
so much power,
how women are afraid to invest in that. Because I would join a mastermind just literally we're both in a mastermind together, and the value already and the inspiration just from the conversations that we've had, let alone any training or anything else, it is literally the value in that, having a good sounding board. Definitely.
It's one thing, like I've been saying now, like I've just released a new mastermind and I've filled the spaces straight away. I've like doubled my target, what my original target was. But it was like, the one thing I've said to all of these women who've joined is like, the thing is, you can know everything. You can know, like, I'm crystal clear with my targets. I'm driven, I'm determined, I've got a good positive mindset anyway. And I know what it is I'm going to be like aiming for. I know my year target, my 6-month target. So I'm pretty clear with that anyway. But the difference is when you're surrounded, like I'll always be part of masterminds and I'll always be part of that higher level working with like-minded women, because the difference that gives me is like, not only do I have that plan, I've got that plan with confidence, because it's like I turn to like you and the other ladies as well, and I'm like, this is what I'm doing this month, or this is what I'm doing this week, and just having those eyes on my business and my plans, and just that like reassurance of them saying, yeah, good plan, go for it. You just show up like it's a different kind of energy, isn't it? It's a different kind of confidence.
Definitely. I absolutely love it. And equally, I mean, I could talk about this all day. I'm obviously, I'm a feminine energy principles leader as well. So I just believe in it so much, because equally, like even just having conversations will spark, inspiration and creativity and that sort of thing, which again, then will lead to a tangible return. But I did have a question, actually, sorry, just slightly off the topic about your book. So I'd love to know, how did that come about? What was your journey in writing your book? Because this is also something I'm interested in myself.
Yeah. So the book I was in was a collaborated book. It was part of Mastermind I was on, actually. So we were a group of women in business who'd all felt like we talked about earlier, like that turning point in your life, like that pivotal point, that bigger meaning. And it's all to do with you, like your inner self, and how that we can create that change for ourselves. And we collaborated on this book together, and that's what we did. And it became, well, it was best-selling in like all the different categories. It was a bit of a mind blow, to be honest. But it was like that stepping stone. I never ever believed or even dreamed of like becoming an author. It wasn't on the agenda at all. But like, because I was part of this mastermind, and a load of them were like, oh, I'd love to become an author. They really wanted to do it and all stuff like that. And it just made me think, you know what? Yeah, I can do this too. Like, and that's what we did. We collaborated. We had this, like an agency, not an agency. She was like a woman who helps do all of that. And she kind of guided it. And she gave us the step-by-step things what we had to do. Like, so,
that's it, actually. A few of my clients, oh sorry, dog. A few of my clients have written books, and it is about, sometimes, that's where a good coach will come in and guide you through that process, so it doesn't become
it's a strategy in itself. Like, it is literally a strategy in itself,
so that you can stay within your zone of genius and just focus on what the message that you want to convey. Rather than thinking, okay, how am I going to market this? How am I going to publish this? Like all of the things that could become a potential block. It's like, no, I'm here with something that I think will help other women. I'm here to serve. And then it's allowing yourself to have support from others, so to allow you to deliver that message. Because I have no doubt, like, your story is really powerful, and I think there'll be a lot of women that are using it almost as an excuse as to why they can't do certain things, and instead you've used it as an inspiration to go on and do incredible things. And that's definitely really resonates with me. I love it. So again, as I was just referring back to the questions, I think a lot of this we've kind of covered, because it seems to me it's just about giving yourself permission, essentially, isn't it, to do something different, to do what feels good for you and your family without apologies. Because I'm sure there were people that had objections about, but you spent all this time on a career, like, why would you want to step out and do something else?
Like, I can remember
almost like you're
conversations.
fighting the hand that feeds you. There's probably people that were quite triggered by that.
I got called all the things. I was stupid. I was like reckless. Was I going through like an early midlife crisis before I'd even, hit midlife? And they were like,
no, I just want to enjoy my life.
That's it. I want a life. And it was like, the way they seen it was that I'd worked so hard to get to that career. Why on earth was I throwing it all away? Like, I had people saying, you're going to throw all that away to be a stay-at-home mum? What was the point in it all? And they was like, no, I'm not going to be a stay-at-home mum. I'm going to be a self-employed mum who works from home. Like, there's a big
also
difference.
There's no shame in that. There's many chapters throughout our life, isn't there? And I think equally that was something that I almost had to give myself permission. I was exactly the same as you. Everybody was saying, but you've worked so hard. And then it was like, well, I know me, so yes, I will be at home with my children, but I'm a person that has so many like creative ideas. That won't be the end of my story. It will just give me space and peace of mind that I'm here for my children. Like, you can do both.
You kind of got to like not let all of that noise as such, like, affect your plan or your thoughts, because it can, like, if you listen to it and let it in, it does make you doubt things and think, oh my God, am I making the bad, you can, but it's like, I was so driven, like I thought to myself, do you know what? I had the negativity when I was going to university. I had all the,
you can't win.
family members saying that you're up here, you get off your high horse, you think you're better than us, all of that. And then taking that from like your loved ones and your family and your cousins and people you've grown up with and people you've shared real heartache with as well. Because like, in my past, we lost a lot of people, my cousin, my uncle, good friends through like suicide, drugs. It was messy. So we'd like been through a lot together as well. And then to feel like you kind of almost leaving them behind, because it's like, it's just you do, but you've got to kind of think of your own, you've got to put yourself first type of thing, and realize like you can either just live and stay the way you're living forever and just stay like that and accept that, which I couldn't accept it. I could not carry on living the way that I was living. And I was always looking for something more. And then even when I got that career, again, I couldn't stay living the way I was living, because then that adapted too, and I needed more freedom. Now it was like, I've got the finances, I've got that stability, I've got a lovely husband and a home, but I haven't got this freedom, and I needed that. And it was like, right, it's like another crossroads where I was feeling like I either stay like this and I accept it, or I change. Like, and what can I do? It's about just facing that. And every change is scary. Even when we decided to do home education with Aria, God, the negativity and the feedback we got from that. You ain't teachers. She's going to be a weird kid. She's not going to socialize. She's not like, and we're like, oh, it took me a long time. It wasn't an overnight decision.
What was the motivation actually for that? I'm quite interested, because I know for me personally, I would love to homeschool my children because I want to travel more with them. And equally, sorry, I've just completely answered the question, but I think for me as well, I can see working with clients now who are in their 20s, 30s, 40s, the conditioning starts from society at school age, like from school. And even our educational system is so antiquated. So this is a subject that I could literally talk to you about for hours, but just out of curiosity, I wondered what your motivation was.
So it started because for like the last 2 years, a big amount of, like a large amount of my clients who I was working with are home educators themselves, and many of them are teachers or ex-teachers who now do a lot in the home ed communities, like helping like that. So I didn't even know it was a possibility years ago. So it's like the last 2 years, it really opened my eyes to see how they are living, and like the freedom side of that, which is so in line with like my mission and my values, is like having that freedom lifestyle. So it really like linked in. And then when everything happened with the lockdown, I was still under the mind of like, no, she needs to go to school type of thing, because I need that time. But it was, for me, the biggest turning point was like, we were having like, she was in, what's the pre-reception thing? Like she was in the she was in the school, and they treated her very much like she was in the school. Like we had to put sick papers, like we had to put holiday request forms in, all stuff like that. So it was very much like a school. And that's where she was going to be anyway. And we were having like parent-teacher meetings and stuff. And the things they were saying just really didn't like reflect my daughter. They really didn't reflect Aria. They were saying like, it was quite a big class, like 40 kids in there. But they were saying like, she's really quiet. She's, we separated and put her in a quiet class with just a few of the class kids, because she's really like, she doesn't like to be around all them kids. She's shy and this. And I'm like, my daughter is not shy. Like, you you want to see her when we have pub parties. She's like boss in the whole, we'll have like family parties in the pub. We'll throw like kids discos and stuff like that. And you want to see her. She's wild. She's not shy, So it was like, to me, I started to think, is it because there's not enough adults present? So she feeling a bit like, there was something making her going within herself in class for some reason. And there was a week as well, which she'd always been really well potty trained from a really young age. Like, she's been marvelous. And there was a week in the school as well where she started having an accident. So I was like, what is going on? And it was only happening in school. So that made me question as well, thinking what's going on? Like, because this isn't something she does. She doesn't do it at home. She never does this. She's always good with toileting. And when I was asking her, she wouldn't even answer me and tell me why. It was really strange. And then we had the end of year report, and that was the final trigger for me. Like, on the end of year report, it said things like she only knew numbers 1 to 4, when I knew she knew numbers 1 to 20, because she could count them, she could write them, everything. So it just didn't reflect her at all. And when I approached a couple of the other mums and said, this report does not, it's like as if it's written about another child. And then I realized their reports, they were pretty much copy and paste. Whereas I understand, like, these schools are busy, and a lot of the time, like, I've got a lot of clients who are teachers who explained this to me and said it's not like on the teachers, it's what they're told to do, because they like pressed for time, and a lot of them got to do it in their own time and stuff like that. But I just thought, like, I can give her so much more. I can give her better. And I just thought to myself, I'm just going to go with it and give her a go. And I thought, we'll trial it. And we got until she's 5 anyway. She's only 4. So we pulled it out and thought, we'll try it over the 6 weeks holidays. And then before the 6 weeks holidays were up, we were absolutely certain. So we sent in like a deregistration letter. And yeah, we haven't looked back ever since. It's like been the best decision we ever made. Yeah.
I really applaud it, because I think, obviously, for me as like a coach, but also as a spiritual person, to allow a lot of us, you know, I always ask my clients when they talk about their desires, it's about, what did you want to be when you were a child? Before society told you what was expected of you, and before, like, you know, the school education system kicked you around and told you were stupid, or you were this, or you were that, or your parents put their limiting belief on what would actually make you money, you know, what was a safe bet, what did you actually want to do? So the fact that she's not going to have any of that, any of that conditioning, like, literally. And I imagine as well, like, you have a really great life, so you travel, like, you've got your holiday home, haven't you? And you know, you're out there.
She does have a worldly education. Like, she's been so many places in the world. Like, we went to Madrid a couple of, like, when we were first allowed out again, when we were first allowed to fly, we were like, let's get on an airplane. And we went to Madrid, and she was like, we turned her into a whole learning experience. So now she's like 4, but she knows quite a bit about Madrid and like the culture, and, you know. So
I took my kids to Venice, funny enough, when the first lockdown finished, and so many people were like, what are you doing? It's such a waste of money. They're kids, they're not going to appreciate it. And I was like, but what a cool experience for children to see, like, the canals. And I was like, I could take them to Spain again, and we could do like a little beach holiday. I was like, but I'd rather take them on a city break where they might learn something.
Definitely.
And obviously, my ex-partner, his family are Italian, so like my 2 youngest children have an Italian connection. So I was like, this is their heritage. Like,
definitely.
how exciting. I love that you're just not conforming. And obviously, every time that we do it as parents, and we give ourselves and our children permission, like, it just, the legacy of that just continues. I
think a lot of it as well, like you say there about not conforming, like, all the way through school, I did bad in school, like really bad. And it was a lot of the things were like, it was just that kind of control. I hated school, really hated it, to a point. Like, I remember I used to bunk off all the lessons, and I'd either like be down a lane somewhere drinking, smoking, God knows what, or I'd be in the computer room. I would bunk off and I'd be hidden in the computer room. And I remember my computer teacher, he was the only teacher that I just loved, because he just allowed me to do that. He'd be like, oh, no lessons. I'd be like, no, I got a free day today. Oh, you always got free days. So he was like quite sarcastic, but it was like as if he knew I was better off in his class bunking than not knowing where I was. And now I've got my whole career, my whole life is like, I run a business from my laptop. So it was like the signs were there when I was young. And if I was allowed to explore that more, like all those other subjects, if I was allowed to do those from the computer room, maybe I would have done a lot better at a younger age. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, honestly, I literally, Bethan, I could talk to you about this all day, because I believe that this is one of the reasons why, like, our UK economy doesn't grow, because we've got no opportunity for children to be creative, to do, like, to lean into their strengths. So like, I've got a daughter who is just very slightly on the autistic spectrum, but she's hugely intelligent. She's very creative. She is incredible with art, with design, with computers. And I'm like, she's going to be the next Mark Zuckerberg if schooling doesn't take that out of her, because she's
Sorry about that. It's my mother wheeling a chair over from one desk to the other.
Bless her. Oh no, it's fine. But it's, if only there were more opportunities for like young people as they're starting to learn their own desires and their interests and their passions to really just go all in on what they're good at, as opposed to being made to sit through classes trying to, you know, cater, like bring them up to standard for the things they're not good at.
Yeah, like I always remember when I was, I don't know what age I was, but I was in university studying to be a qualified radiographer, and obviously that's a lot of science based. And when I was in school, like my science teacher, I really didn't like him. And I bumped into him on a night out when I was clubbing. And I remember him coming over and being like, oh, what are you doing these days? And I said to him, I'm in university actually studying radiography. And he was like, he didn't believe me. And I was like, I actually am. And he was like, you of all people. And it was like that feeling of just saying, you ruled me out. You kind of thought that there was no hope for me. I was a waste of space. I was this. And so many of the teachers, like I knew, looked at me like that and just wrote me off and thought, she's a waste of time, a waste of space. She's not going to amount to nothing. And it was like just being able, I felt like that was meant to have happened, like bumping into him. And I think he felt like he was going to be like, I wonder what you were doing these, type of thing. And then when I came back with that response, he was like, really?
That's what I love to do, prove people wrong and change, not conform, change perceptions, push the boundaries, do all. And I always say that, let your success be your best, be your revenge. Because
definitely
that's the healthiest form of revenge, isn't it? Oh, okay. Well, thank you so much, Bethan. What I'd love to do is obviously, for anybody that feels really inspired by what you've spoken about, which for me, I mean, we're kind of on similar paths now, but years ago, oh my God, where have you been all my life, Bethan? Because to have that, I wish I'd met you years ago, because honestly, it's been such a hard journey up to this point. I felt like I was the only one that was, and I used to sit there and have these conversations with my sister, and who was obviously taking a completely different path to me. And I'd be like, I don't know why I can't be happy with, having kids, settling down, or being, all of these things. I would love that for me, but there's something inside me that will not let me. That
needs more.
And it was just, I felt like I was going mad. I felt like I was broken. I felt like I was ungrateful. I felt like, I was always destined to be alone, like all of these things that you kind of then, pour into it as well. Add it on top to make yourself feel worse. And I think the more women that are coming up now through the help of coaches like yourself and me, and giving themselves permission to go off and do something different that's just for them, that's against the grain, that's leaning into their passions, their expertise, like, God, isn't the world going to be a better place? By the time our girls get to that age, it will just be standard. Like, it's so funny. I talk to my girls now because I've got 3. And I'm like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And it's like, I almost hate having that conversation, because I'm then telling them that they have to choose, and what they choose, that's it. But it isn't. We both know there's many chapters in an evolution. And neither of them are like, I want to go and work in accounts, and I want to go work in Asda. It's all like, oh well, they have like these big huge ambitions. They're very entrepreneurial. They love to give me stuff to sell on eBay. Their expectations are through the roof. One of my daughters, it was so funny, I actually said to her, she's like, I've got all these bits, I want to make some money, mummy, because I want to buy these new things.
I want to make money.
So I was like, well, how are we going to do it then? I was like, because you've got to step into your power. So she gave me a whole load of absolute crap, if I'm honest. And she was like, right, I've written out the prices. They were like £90, like £5. I was like, we really need to have a conversation about the clientele on eBay. But it was so funny, because I was thinking at one point, like, what I'll do is I'll just pretend that I popped it on, and then I'll tell her that something sold, and then I'll give her the money. But Jesus, this girl's expectations are through the roof. I'm not paying £90 for a pair of your old wellies that I bought the first time. I was like, we might have to rethink this.
It's so cute. I love it. Aria's like that as well, and she's we've got like a money in our office now, because obviously we've got, my husband works from the office, my mother works from the office. There's like money tins as well where they manage in some of the other businesses, so where they keep the cash for banking in and stuff. So Aria now has got like her little money thing on her desk as well. And my mother started like, you know, she did do it for a little while. They haven't done it for a while, but they were like going on social media through one of my food catering businesses and selling little like picnic boxes, you know, like the little cake boxes, so simple. And they were putting like sandwiches, little picnic things in there for kids, and then selling it online. And then the money they made, they were putting into, so it was Aria's little business. And it's so cute. It's so cute. They haven't done it for a while.
That's so good. I had one client that launched an Amazon store, and she was doing it with their son, who was like 16. And she was like, this is the only time he talks to me. Like, you've actually brought our family back together.
Yeah.
Oh, that's just so lovely. But honestly, like, you should just be so proud of like your legacy and the work that you're doing and the women that you're helping. I'm sure you know that now already, but honestly, I'm so inspired by meeting like coaches like yourself. And obviously for anybody that's listening that would equally like to start, you know, dipping their toe in the water and seeing what they're truly capable of, I'm going to pop a little link in the show notes, which is to a lead magnet, so to a resource that you've created. Is that right? And it's about creating that family friendly
it's like I've got loads of different freebies, but this one in particular is based on like my signature system, and it's like the 3 main pillars to like, you know, really like dipping into this kind of lifestyle, having, you know, multiple income streams, but also focusing on having that freedom as well. So multiple smart income streams. And it's called the Family Freedom Formula. I think it just fits because that's kind of what inspired me, like having that family freedom. So yeah, I'll send the link for you to pop that over to anyone who wants to check it out.
Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I could literally talk to you all day, so I'm already thinking like, oh, maybe I could get you back for like to talk about this specifically. But just, you know, honestly, thank you for being an inspiration. Thank you for being part of the change. I don't think you'll ever truly know your legacy, because it just, you know, even with your own daughter, what she then achieves in her life, how, you know, it's going to be far more incredible than what it would have been. So just thank you so much.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
No worries. Thank you for listening to this episode. It's been amazing to share this time with you, and I feel honoured to be part of your journey. If you've loved what you've heard, had an aha moment, or found value in this episode, then please do like, comment and share. I would love to connect with you on Instagram and Facebook, so come and find me, and I look forward to helping you build your epic life.